Yes.
All right, let's call the meeting to order. If everyone please stand for the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hello, everyone. This is the Canfield Township Board of Trustees meeting for April 26, 2016. This is our regular meeting. Calling this meeting to order at 7 p.m. If you have a cell phone, kindly put it on vibrate or shut it off. And we'll now move into any public presentation. Is there anyone here this evening for public presentation? No?
Want Jim? Jim, did you want to speak?
Oh, would you like me to speak now? Sure. I'm Jim Zucchero with Summit Insurance Agency, your local OTARMA representative. And Canfield Township had the foresight, probably 15 years ago, to join with now 999 other townships as of Friday. So soon there'll be 1,000 townships that are in your state association's endorsed and sponsored program. And that in and of itself is not a reason to be a member of OTARMA, but it was formed in the mid-'80s to address a real problem with not just townships but other types of governmental entities. The OTA spearheaded legislation enabling the formation of these pooling programs, and now most political subdivision associations have pooling programs for its members, including the Ohio Municipal League, county commissioners, the Ohio Parks and Rec Association, and the Ohio Health Commissioners all have pooling programs. So you're joining together with 1,000 other townships to self-insure on a group basis. All of the service providers that an insurance company would have are contracted out. And OTARMA is controlled by, truly controlled by its board of directors, who are made up of all township officials. Your renewal doesn't come up for a few months, but I spoke with Carmen yesterday, a couple months. And thanks. I want to come out and introduce myself and see if you have any questions or concerns. We do have an issue right now with some buildings that aren't insured for its replacement value. And what that means is if you have a claim that is a $10,000 claim or the building is destroyed, you're not going to be happy with how the claim is settled. You'd end up coming up with money out of pocket more than just your deductible. So I just want to talk about that, and then I can get with Keith, or we can go into detail tonight, whatever the board prefers, and maybe it's important enough to get the board's feedback in advance of the renewal to maybe make these at replacement costs. It wouldn't take much time to get a price, a contribution we call it, similar to premium, to what it would cost to take it to replacement cost. Apparently there was a mix-up last year. There was a lady that works for Burnham & Flower who has they're the marketing arm of OTARMA. I haven't spoken to her, but it didn't get processed the way I think it should have. So I think there's 5 buildings that are currently, they're insured at its actual cash value. So if it burns down or blows over, you could be okay if it's the type of building that you don't want to rebuild to the same standard, building material, that sort of thing. So.
Okay. Well, it's obviously very important that we're covered properly, and I remember having a conversation with Megan last year, and there were some irregularities in the policies, and I thought they were corrected, but apparently not, according to what you're telling us. So
I'm not certain, Brian, what you're exactly speaking to. It could be that there was a mix-up between the salt shed and the garage. Mm-hmm. I don't think that necessarily would have been a problem, because you have a blanket or a total building amount that would be sufficient to cover those. And I think those are insured at replacement cost. Okay. It's these other buildings that
what are you doing? Are you taking the square footage and determining what the value should be?
Yeah, and I
The
actually
replace-
have, I do have what OTARMA believes to be the replacement value.
Would it,
Can we have copies?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll just leave these with you.
is this what we were just emailed recently, Connie?
Yes.
Is this the same
Well,
thing?
we
Okay.
got emailed the original with no changes to it.
I don't think this, I think this is the additional.
This is
Okay.
the stuff we talked about with Megan.
Okay.
It,
And then we'll have
I
copies.
do see in my notes at the office that this was discussed, and there is an option to increase to the replacement. I only have one copy. And you'll,
There is additional, there is an extra here for you.
oh, thanks.
There you go. Think we each
Well,
have one?
these are different.
Oh, these are different
There's more than
ones?
one building, yeah.
Ooh.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, so we need multiples on this.
Okay,
I
Keith,
apologize, I thought they were all the
Transportation.
same.
Yeah,
Okay, location 2 to 3, so we need 1 and
Those I
2,
need
2
that.
and 3? Does that mean anything?
yeah, these are different.
Disregard
These
that,
are,
that's not, I don't believe that's accurate.
Okay, I've got the Messerly Road, 5007.
I've got Messerly Road, and this is Broad Street. So you had, there's 2 Broad, so we need
Which Messerly do
Messerly.
you have?
I have
I have-
5035.
I have 5007 Messerly.
I got 5007, so that's the one we got
That's
missing.
5035, and I have 7419 Herbert.
That one we
That's the
need.
park.
We're gonna have,
That's
we'll
the
make
park.
copies for ourselves. How's that?
Okay.
If we can
We'll
have one
give all
complete, why
this
don't
to
we?
Keith.
I was gonna say, if Keith has one complete copy, then we can get everything from him.
yeah, if it pleases the board, this is, I think, needs more in-depth conversation. If you wouldn't mind, we can speak with Keith and or Carmen
Okay.
and definitely review this.
I can clean it up in an email to Keith that will say, this is what you have at actual cash
Thank you.
value. This is what
What it should be.
the appraised value for insurance purposes, what it'll take to rebuild. And here's the additional premium necessary to do that.
Okay.
I can have
Here's
that
the
to
rest
them
of it.
tomorrow.
Now,
Okay.
there should be 4, are there 4, or is that one total set there?
There
Because
should be
those are
5
duplicates.
buildings.
These are, I think there's 5.
Okay,
There's 5 buildings.
he's got,
I'm missing one.
he's got 4.
I got 4.
This is 5007, or 25007 Messerly. May not have that.
5007 Messerly, 5035 Messerly, which is
And I
fire station.
believe these are,
Is it the
Sheriff's
board's,
substation is what I'm missing.
tell you what, I'll give these all
understanding
to
that
you.
you would want
But I
replacement
apologize,
value?
well, it's confusing, so I can clean it up.
Fine.
Okay.
I don't know why I didn't.
We'll talk another
You want to
day.
talk tomorrow?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
I should say I don't know why they're doing it.
well, for some reason or other, years ago, they chose differently, so we
Well,
want
I
to
think
make
that's
sure.
going to need more in-depth conversation though, to make sure we're covering it appropriately. We appreciate you coming in. Was there anything else?
There's really nothing else,
Okay.
but so he and I will get together and he can communicate to the board, and then we can correct it midterm, and then for your renew, I'll come back for a meeting and talk more in depth about the program if you have any questions. There's really not many options with OTARMA.
But just so we're clear, Megan that was here from Burnham and Flower, is she actually not our rep then?
I am your rep.
Okay, it was my understanding. I was under the impression she was,
Oh.
but she's more into marketing, correct?
Right.
I think you had some personal problems
I
at
couldn't
that
be at that
time,
meeting.
and you
Right.
had Megan come
Okay.
in.
And I thought Jim DeLucas was going to come to the meeting,
And
and
he
he
didn't.
couldn't make
All right,
it.
so you're the man then, right?
Yeah, if you have a minute, I'll explain. I worked for Burnham and Flower in the role that actually Jim DeLucas has now.
Okay.
25 years ago. And so Burnham and Flower contracts with agents on a more local basis. So I am your point of contact.
Okay,
Megan serves as a resource, I guess, to the more local agents around the state.
You handle the northeast corner.
Correct.
Okay.
Not all the townships in northeast.
And
corner.
just as a clarification for us, I thought the board last year had talked about having replacement value on our buildings. Is
I
that
thought
not
we did
correct?
too. So that's
So
why I'm
let's start
concerned.
at that point, just so you know. We had decided last year we wanted replacement value.
Okay.
Yeah, that-
So if they're not there, if you can bring it to that point
We're gonna
and then
talk
let
about
us
that
see it, that
tomorrow.
would be great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the sooner the better for us.
Tomorrow.
Okay.
Because last year we suffered a tornado coming through our area, and that spooked us, and it did go over those buildings there.
Wow.
So it could have taken them out.
Nobody would have been happy with
Okay, well, thank you for coming in.
You're welcome. Nice to meet
Appreciate
you.
it.
that. Nice to meet you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other public presentation? Hearing none, public presentations now closed. We'll go ahead and move on to the roll call. If the fiscal officer would please take the roll.
Mr. Polsky?
Present.
Ms. Cartwright?
Present.
Mr. Governor?
Present. As far as our minutes are concerned, is there any corrections or changes to the meeting minutes of regular meeting minutes of March 8th, March 29th, and April 12th, excuse me, and then also special meeting minutes of March 16th and April 6th?
Just as long as all the corrections have been incorporated?
Okay, and I'll move to accept the minutes as presented. We'll move on to our Administrator Road Superintendent report with Mr. Rogers.
Are you entertaining
Yes,
questions?
yes, entertain questions for Mr. Rogers.
Keith, the only thing I had to comment on is the recycling drive. And have we set up parameters? We talked about having parameters when we had the individuals come to assist at the center so that they know how many hours they have to work in order to get the pay.
Yes, that's been taken care of, but I also made sure that one coach was available, and I'm making sure that the one that we use in the fall, I never have a problem in the summertime, and the one in June, that's never an issue. I always have 15 to 20 people there. I implemented making sure one coach was available to be on site, just as a supervisor type thing. That went really well last year. I'm gonna have to work with the second group in the fall. And if they don't want to do it, then I'll move on to a different sporting event, or sporting group, I should say.
And we will also notify Canfield City Police that we'll be doing it that day in case they back up onto the road again.
Well, that was just because they had that other event going on, and I was honestly thinking about moving it out to the parking lot because the new vendor that we're looking at right now, or at least I'm considering to bring to the board, uses roll-off boxes, and I don't think we want to put roll-off boxes in the government building. Right.
Well, but keep in mind that we had them winding around, so it really wasn't because of the other event. We just had so many cars in line there.
Right. And
So I think we need to really look at keeping traffic control off the main road too.
I was just thinking gate 9 because it's more open back there, and I think we can get them in and out quicker.
I think if it's not raining, that would be perfect.
It snowed one year, it's okay.
Do we know the date yet?
Of the appliance drive?
Do we know
Yes,
the
it
date?
is set. Hold
June
on.
4th, Saturday,
And do you know the hours yet?
10 to 2.
That was
And you
9
can
to 2.
ask
I
Cindy
thought it
to
was
get...
9 to 2.
No, it's 9 to 1 is the electronics drive, 10 to 2 is the appliance.
Oh, okay.
You can get that up on the website too.
I thought Cindy put that up already, but she might not.
I haven't been there for a couple of days, so I don't know, so.
Okay.
Okay, you have any thoughts on the paving list? I know that the boardman would like to get an idea of our list, and I don't know if the board's had a chance to look any further. Maria, I think you had an opportunity to go out and look at some roads and.
Keith and I did several of them, and I did some other ones. Obviously, the thought process on the paving, I really like the idea of doing an entire neighborhood instead of just taking and doing one road within a neighborhood because it's the worst one.
Mhm.
Keith and I drove the
Well, it's more
suggested
economical
roads.
that way.
It is. It's, and I think it's smarter for the residents too. I think it's a matter of looking at it. I think that we're all in agreement that steeplechase has to be done this year. I don't know if anybody.
I think that's a very bad road, yes. Yes.
And it's off the beaten path from any of the other areas that we're considering. So I think it's really going to be a matter of the areas that we do, whether it's the Bay Hill area or whether it's the Aladdin area. I think those are our two districts that we have to be looking at. They seem to be the worst in the township right now as a grouping. And I think that what we need to do is get the actual measurements of those two developments to look for cost on it. But I think we should be doing a whole neighborhood instead of jumping around. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, because the roads that were presented to us obviously are not in those neighborhoods. And they, I mean.
Not all of them within
Not
that.
all of them.
Right, they
correct.
only did the worst ones within.
Right. So, well, before we do that, what about Gibson?
Well, I
Is the
think
board in
Gibson's,
agreement
we
that-
still have to do the top of Gibson no matter what.
Okay, so that's a for sure.
That's a for sure. I think
okay.
everybody
We
agrees
all
on
agree
that
with
one.
that?
Yes.
Okay. We understand it's not perfect, we understand it's not a, you know, I think we've beat that to death, but it's something that needs to be done while we're exploring all of our other phases there. So I think we need to get a list of the roads together. I don't have a problem doing one area, one development, that's more economical, it makes sense. I understand what you're saying. So do you have a proposed?
Well, looking at the area and what the Public Works Department has suggested, and I'm sure that you guys have all looked at also, I think that we do Gibson and Steeplechase for sure.
I
And
agree.
then I'm looking at, I mean, it really is a toss-up with the whole Aladdin, Clearview, Eden Rock area. And Bay Hill. I mean, the Bay Hill area is separate, but that whole area needs it done too. I mean, they're probably pretty comparable. I mean, if I had to say my druthers, the Aladdin area is probably the worst.
So that's the one you're selecting.
I think we need to get measurements on it to see the cost. I think the most important thing is to measure up the roads. Let's look and see what's going to what's going to fit in our budget. And looking at the last time some of these were done, I mean, 1996 for some of the ones we're talking about right now.
Well, some of the other roads that were on the original list, excuse me, I'm trying to locate that. Do you have that handy there, the one that
You know what, I thought I
provided?
did. Let me check my
Sorry, I
briefcase.
thought
I did
I
have
had
it,
it here.
I had it earlier printed out, but I can pull it up on here too.
Keith, do you know a couple of those off the top of your head? I know one.
I have the list in the office.
All right. I apologize, I should have had that handy.
Okay, here you go.
No, that's the list I have.
That's not the list you wanted.
That's not the, no, we're
This was the
looking,
list that was just
we're looking for the
recently sent to us.
proposed, what
The
Public
ones
Works
that Public
has
Works and Keith,
put
Current
together,
roads,
suggested paving.
thank you.
oh, this doesn't have the year they were last paved.
I was shocked.
So like,
Those are all,
this is all over in that area.
yeah, that's all, yeah. But I think we would divide those up because Bay Hill is separate from the Aladdin.
Yeah, it's two total.
They're two different
separate,
developments.
Now, here's
And I
the
think we
road-
have to look at both of the developments to see.
Here's the road inventory, and it does list the miles.
Right, but they've got to measure them, and some, there's going to have to be, some of the roads, quite frankly,
I mean, these are
are,
all in the same, you know, pretty close proximity.
Are in
I mean,
more
that's
need.
Relatively, at least it's in that quadrant.
I don't know, I think that
So
in the
it's-
one area, you're going to
so
have to
leaps.
grind down the road, are you not?
So actually, until we get down to here.
Steeplechase for sure.
Steeple
for sure.
You're gonna end up
There-
edge
you know,
milling
it's a
because the
little-
crown's out
it's
of
a
the
little
road.
one Off of,
So we have to reestablish the crown to get the water off the
Okay.
street.
Isn't it Eden Rock? Which the?
Avocado was
Avocado, is that
crack sealed five years ago.
Probably 5 or 6 years ago.
Longer than that.
I've only been here for 6, Carmen.
Has to be 5 or 6.
You were here when they did it?
Yeah.
Yes, he was.
Because I worked with the county to get it done. By far, that's the worst one in that neighborhood.
Right, and I think that one's the one that I would say that needed to be ground, but that's my opinion, and you're the expert.
I'll have to take another hard look at it and actually get out and walk it.
Okay.
I'll have to do that when Cindy's here, so it'll be a full day.
But is that logical to get the dimensions and the cost?
Absolutely. I would rather have hard numbers than try to measure it off the GIS because it'll give you the ballpark idea, but I'd rather have a hard number.
And doing a neighborhood versus jumping around and doing
You're
other, I
gonna-
mean, what's your opinion on that?
You're going to get a better price from the contractor if they're staying within a development. Every time they have to lift up the milling machine or lift up the,
And move it.
or the paver, you're paying for it. So
But we have, like, steeplechase is out there by itself. There's no other road around it really that we're going to be doing.
That's the only
Take
one
for
out.
couple, but
Pardon me?
I said, yeah, that's really the only one out on this list.
Yeah,
It's out. Well,
that's out.
Killdeer's kind of.
In Gibson?
I think we have to do other work out there on that area before we talk about paving.
well,
There's some
absolutely.
water issues that
There's
have to
some stormwater
be.
issues on steeplechase as well.
Yeah, but some of that's going to help with the road being redone too because of the way it's running right now.
Okay, I'll go with that.
Well, we diverted it. I mean, when we went out there earlier this year, or end of last year, the problem is that the road is broken up and,
The road's broken up and we're missing a catch basin out there and, yeah. When the road was put in, there was one catch basin that wasn't installed, or should have been installed because there's just too much distance between the two basins. And you have a farmer's field right there on the bend that always seems to be draining water for some reason. It goes right up over the curb and then into the street. So, you know, that's a problem area.
This is the list right here then, isn't it? I mean, which road
Yeah,
are you
these are the
missing?
same.
I mean, and aren't these the?
The numbers
well,
the widths?
the problem is that in this development where you have Aladdin, you also have Eden Rock, Clearview, Avocado,
and Fox
Oh, we
Haven.
have-
Fox Haven. You've got all of those, and some of those aren't on there. That would be that whole
Fox Haven
development.
needs it?
We'll see.
Well, if you're gonna do a neighborhood,
If you're gonna do the
it
whole
all, and then
neighborhood, you
won't have
do it
to
all.
Visit it for another 10, 15 years.
I understand.
Because you're only getting local traffic because there's all the buildings done.
So if you go to Bay Hill, you have Bay Hill, Murray. you've
Well, how
got-
long do we have? I know Borman wants to know as soon as possible.
The sooner we get to them, the
But-
better. That
Right.
way they can get the contract document done.
But keep in mind, they're not getting their money till July 1st, but we have to get
It's still
the
gotta
work
go out
done
for
in
bid and-
advance.
All right, so I mean, we have a general idea of where we're talking about doing
Right.
then. Plus
It's
Gibson. 'Cause-
really not different from what the Public Works and Keith said. It's just taking more of a neighborhood look at it instead of doing two different neighborhoods. Do
Alright.
one specific one out of the two.
Okay.
I'll have the numbers for you for the next meeting and we'll figure it out from there.
All right. I'm good with that. And then also, since we touched on Gibson Road, I kind of want to stay out in front of this as far as MS Consultants was attempting to locate the engineering drawings or update the
Right,
engineering.
they were unable to
costs.
locate their drawings, but our current engineer right now was working for a company that extended the water line up Gibson Road from the Westbury development, so they were paid by that developer. So he has all that information on his computer now. He made a
Okay.
phone call to his former place of employment, and they were willing to share the information. So he actually has all the survey information, and he can actually work up a cost estimate for us.
All right, so we can keep that project moving, hopefully.
Correct.
Hopefully to keep our phases moving.
I did get you one roundabout cost estimate for the 43 parcels that we have to go back 42 years for research.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking at $1,000 to $1,500 per lot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right, well, that's good to know.
So we need to budget for that.
That's just giving you an idea.
Oh, it's gonna be expensive. Whole deal. All right. And I know you're working on getting quotes for the catch basin replacements, right? from us.
Contract documents are being worked on now.
Okay.
Have a plumber coming in first thing in the morning to camera the footer drains.
Oh, great.
Oh, good, that's here at Township Hall.
Yes.
Good. So that way we can make a final decision on what we're doing with the basement. All right.
Did you schedule when they're gonna put the camera in at the? It said next week, which would be this week.
It was, yes, it's supposed to be sometime this week.
Okay.
They actually finally got the Cat 5 cable, it's good for outdoor, and that was just an issue of getting
That's
it
the
scheduled.
Tyco
for-
at
Okay, I
Public
got it.
Works
Okay, all right.
Department.
All right.
Okay.
Keith, before I leave here, I need a copy of the RSO agreement to be properly executed.
I will have to get Cindy to do that on Thursday, because we do not have an unlocked copy. They're in the file cabinet locked up. So I'll have her email that out to you Thursday.
I've got a check that goes out and I can't send it out till I got that, so.
Well, let me ask a question. Did the city get their copy of the SRO executed agreement?
Yes.
Okay, so you can give them the check, Carmen, because they already have a copy of the agreement. I know that you want one for your
I
PO.
have to have it for my files, and this is the issue I've had in the past. And I don't want my files to be incomplete, so I will hold everything until I get that check in my hand.
I have to tell you, going through the upstairs, we could not find any agreements in the files at all. We had, and we don't have executed copies of a lot of the agreements. I have the unsigned ones that I had in my files when we drew them up and just the trustees signed them. But we don't have executed copies.
I think if we start putting our foots down, we're going to get our executed copies, so. That's where I stand now. I feel that
I would just
need
like to get the SRO check over to the city immediately, guys. They've waited way too long for that check.
Okay, as soon as I have the contract, I will mail that check or I'll hand deliver it for them.
Okay. All right. Keith, since you're wearing the zoning hat right now, and we appreciate what you're doing there, I was looking at the zoning report. I just wanted the township's doing pretty good as far as
Yeah, we just had another house permit come in today, so we're up to 10
yeah.
for the year so far.
Okay.
We have to be far ahead of all the other townships.
We do have a BZA hearing coming up on May the 9th for the signage for Get-Go. So that's already been, contiguous property owners' letters went out yesterday. Information packet's been put together for the BZA board, and they're coming in to pick them up. Typically, if it's just a letter or something like that, or 1 or 2 page document, I'll mail them out, but the drawings they sent are 13 pages, and it's easier just to have them come in and pick them up.
Noted. Is there any other questions for Mr. Rogers? No? Hearing none, we'll move on to the fiscal officer's report.
Okay, I'm going to start with the warrants. Warrant 11036 through 11060 for a grand total of, and the electronic payments, 127-2016 through 152-2016, and the total is $116,394.38. And that is really the end of the financials. The Star Ohio Plus, we need to get the notarized copies of the authorized personnel into them. They're going to submit to me a special authorized number before we can transfer funds from that account. So that's going to be another week to a week and a half before we can do that.
Or you have all that signed from the board now. You have everything you need from the board.
I have everything
correct?
that I need to get this done. So
Okay.
we're good. I still have to sign it, and then Keith will notarize all our signatures, and then it'll be ready to go. I do have a liquor license, Radius Hospitality. Does anyone have any reason to say no to this?
I do
The
not
county's already
personally.
contacted me about this, so I want to submit it,
And just to be specific, that's the new Marriott.
the new Marriott. Westford Place. Everyone okay with it?
I'm okay with it.
No
Okay.
objection.
Good.
Today I spent the morning on a conference call with the state auditor's office, and they're putting out the townships, libraries, and villages out for bid on the 5th of May. And shortly after that, once we know who's been selected to do our audit, then we'll get the phone call. And I've just left it up to them, and if there's a conflict of interest with anyone that's chosen, it's up to them to decide if there is a conflict. And we'll let you know as that goes on. We've already talked to OTARMA, so that was one of the things that I needed to discuss with you, so that's out of the way. And then we do have our Civic Day coming up here. Let's see here. It's the 36th annual Civic Day, and they have to be notified by the 29th. So as to whether we're going to participate, it's my understanding all of us will be participating. And I don't see that, oh, here it is, May 6th is when the actual uh,
Week from Friday.
the actual day will be. And that's the end of my report.
Very good, thank you. Move to accept her report as presented. Okay, under old business, we have one area of old business we need to discuss, which is our website maintenance. Just by way of reminder, Joe, you weren't here at the time, but we went onto a new website. We bought a license, which was $750. That's all that we paid. We didn't pay for any design. We don't pay for hosting. We don't pay anything else. So,
Okay.
so at this point, into our new website, we have $750. However, with that license, each year there's a renewal that can take place. It's optional. It's $395. We don't have to do it, but we've been advised that if we don't do it, if something major would happen where the software crashes or something happens, they would have to reinstall a brand new license, which is now at $3,000. I told them I didn't think that, obviously I want to pay $3,000, but I'm not really excited about paying a annual maintenance fee either. So I need to bring that before the board just to get thoughts on that. Basically, they want $395 to make sure the maintenance is done correctly on the software, and that if something would happen where the software crashes or whatever, we're covered. So.
When will that start, Mr. Brian?
Am I the computer guy? I'm the young guy. I should know.
Oh, no,
But no, I don't. I mean, I don't think we need it. Again, website to build a website doesn't cost that much. Doesn't cost $3,000 for a license. I don't know what exactly they're talking about.
Yeah. I would tend to agree. Just because I've dealt with the company, and I don't want to say it's a scare tactic, but it's it's a way of it's a way to make money. But personally, I don't think we should do it. But that's I guess we run the risk.
That's two down.
Pardon?
That's two down. Two no's.
So, I don't know, Maureen, your thoughts?
if it's not a necessity, I don't see why we spend the money.
All right, well then that's easy enough. We can move on then. All right. So since I communicated with them, I'll advise them that we'll just continue onward on an as-needed basis. So, okay. We'll move on to new business. Warrants and electronic payments. I'll move to approve warrant number 11036 through 11060, electronic payments 127-2016 through 152-2016 as general and payroll obligations of the township in the amount of $116,394.38.
I'll second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Pulaski?
Yes.
Ms. Cartwright?
Yes.
Mr. Governor?
Yes. The next one is nuisance properties. I'll move to approve, before I do that, Keith, is there any addition?
I had one additional one, it was 8477,
8477.
Columbiana Canfield. I just found it today.
Columbiana Canfield? Have they been notified?
I'll get the,
Once we do this, they're notified.
well, I send the nuisance, I've already sent the letters out to the ones that are listed here. I found this one, it's a vacant home, it's been on our nuisance property list
it's
before.
vacant, okay.
So I just want to maybe we'll get it approved, I'll send the letter out, give them a couple, give them the 7 days that we give them, but I don't want to have to wait till the next trustees meeting to.
The only reason you got my reaction is that we have the media here, and we don't want them finding out tomorrow in the news that they're on the nuisance list. So that's why
Well,
we're
it
bringing
is a
up.
vacant home, so.
Okay, we're good.
All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and read this nuisance properties. I'll move to approve under the authority of ORC 505.87 as pursuant to resolution number 2010-04-13-98, the following as nuisance properties: 6405 Farmington Circle, 3812 Shields Road, 4011 Eden Rock Drive, 4376 Mellinger Road, 4816 Messerly Road, and 8477 Columbiana Canfield Road.
I'll second that.
Discussion? Now, if I can ask, just so I'm clear, Carmen, what exactly happens now?
We send letters out. Once they don't meet the time frame, then we send out a contractor. When the contractor bills us, then within a certain period of time, I start billing and putting that charge onto their taxes.
So is that submitted to the county? You
Yes.
submit that to the county, and then the county puts a lien on
And
the...
usually the county will
auditor.
call me when they're ready to put those kind of liens on, and I submit it.
But the letter gives the homeowner
7
7 days
7
to
days.
correct the property situation.
Okay.
Now, if they were on the list last year
Mhm.
and nothing has happened, and we've continued to service it, we do not have to send that letter out. But we do as a courtesy. But we're not required, they just remain on there, and we don't have to continue to list them on the nuisance
Okay.
list. But we do that because I think it's just the appropriate thing
All
to
right.
do.
Well, I just want to make sure someday we can try to recoup our money. I want to understand.
Generally, we do not.
I know, but
If you think we do, this is
hopefully we
not
can
a,
at some point.
this is definitely.
I just want the right ducks to be in a row so that we, when the time comes.
I'm trying to
that we
remember, I
can.
think we start the charges at $300, so this is not a mowing venture for the township.
Yeah.
They get hit really bad on the very first mowing.
Okay. Any other discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Pulaski?
Yes.
Ms. Cartwright?
Yes.
Mr. Governor?
Yes. Okay, we'll move into a few trustee comments here. One is, I just thought it'd be a good idea to update in regard, and Carmen, if you wouldn't mind maybe giving us an update where we're at as far as compensation towards Joe as a trustee who is not taking the township's insurance, how
Right.
he's being reimbursed.
We have submitted for an opinion to the prosecutor's office. The biggest concern we have here is how Obamacare affects this particular plan. So the prosecutors are still working on it, and they're worried about answering this until they themselves have the proper answers to give to us. So that's where it stands now.
Okay, well, I just don't want to end up, a year from now, and, which I know it's not your fault, but all of a
Yeah.
sudden we have to write this big check and it's kind of like,
Technically,
what?
we have already gone past that time because I qualified for this last August and have received not one penny. And so I've just let it all go because I've been concerned about collecting money and then having to pay it back if something goes wrong. So I think it's at the Attorney General's office now, and it's being addressed. And I think that until they know how the Internal Revenue is going to deal with Obama, with that end of the insurance, they're kind of afraid to answer our questions right now. So meanwhile, we just sit back and we have to wait.
All right, well, I just wanted Trustee Pulaski to know that we're not,
I understand. I'm fine with taking as much time as needed, and if there's any troubles, it's not a.
Okay,
Well, we've counted for the money in our budget anyhow,
We definitely have accounted
Yes.
for it.
so it's there.
It's there.
okay. The last thing is in regards to the Canfield Soccer Club. We spoke about at our last meeting. They had a desire to rent the garage portion of our building out at the park, and then also to have the restrooms open during their upcoming soccer season. They had sent some information that I had forwarded on to the board, and I don't know if there were any comments on that. Or...
I thought that the prosecutors were going to drop an agreement between the township.
Well, I think the soccer club, we wanted to make sure that in fact we were in agreement generally. We thought the idea of renting the garage was a good idea.
Correct.
The soccer club has come forward with a number they're proposing. So does that number seem acceptable to the township, I guess, is what I'm asking.
It's interesting because I think that Keith and you had gone ahead and looked at comparable sizes of rental space. And I don't know how they came up with the 6420.
Well, they sent us a receipt of what they're paying, maybe because they've been there so long, or whatever the
Oh,
reason
what they're
is, of
currently
what they're
paying.
currently paying. That's how they got their number. They sent a copy of their.
Oh, I didn't see that. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah, no. Yeah, so that's how they got the number. That's what they're actually paying right now.
And we're off how much?
Well, what they're paying right now is $756 annually, and they're willing to pay upwards of $1,000 per year, which is
Annually,
more than they're
what
paying.
It's $83. $83.33 a month.
If you take the 1,000 and divide it out, yes.
Now, what he's saying is, and I guess I would agree with, it's a win-win, because right now we have done nothing with that space, and that space is sitting there empty. We could generate some income which we don't currently do. So there is something to be said for that. Plus, someone's actually using the building, which we're not using as much as we probably should be. So that's their proposal. And then they would like to have the restrooms open during their upcoming soccer season. You see the numbers they're proposing there. They've outlined the days in which they would be there. I did have a conversation with Mr. Rogers just to the point of how often, we thought it would be necessary to go out there and clean those. We thought probably 2 days a week would be ample to go out there for an hour. So we're probably looking at 2 hours of time, of the Public Works Department time. It'd probably be Mike that would do it. So that's what's on the table. I suppose before we went to the prosecutors, we wanted to see, yes, Keith?
I also did call the insurance company about it, and they recommended that Canfield Soccer have their own liability insurance, and we have obviously a lease agreement written up.
Sure.
Which I didn't get that phone call till late today, so I can get a hold of the prosecutor tomorrow and have them write something up for us. Would you want to do that on a year-to-year basis and renew that lease every year?
I think we have to.
I think that might be...
I think that's probably the best way to do it at this point, I would think. But I guess I just wanted to get input from the board as far as, do these numbers sound realistic, what they're proposing? Is that...
Are they going to be opening and closing the restrooms, or are we going to have to do that?
No, they will be responsible for that, yes, and they understand that. Now, one thing I may propose is that right now there's key locks out there, and we may suggest changing those to the code lock ones, which we may incur obviously an expense to do that. I don't know if
you don't want to do that because it automatically locks. We did that at the high school on one of the buildings over there. And every time you hit the keypad, yes, you could open the door, but as soon as you let it go, it locks itself again.
Well, if we proceed with this, then we need to maybe come up with a possibly better way than we did it before as far as the key out there, because we don't want it to be duplicated and people have it, and so that's the only thing.
I think the prices are fair. I don't have a problem.
I don't have a problem with the pricing structure. I think that we do need to have some sort of agreement as relates to the key and making sure that duplicates are not made of that key.
Agreed. Yeah, because otherwise, well, yes, I agree.
And just having it checked periodically to make sure that it is being locked.
So, Mr. Rogers, the next step is then to, contact the soccer club, let them know that, the board's in agreement with their proposal. However, we do need to go through the prosecutor's office and create a lease document with appropriate verbiage. And that they will, of course, need their own insurance to cover their stuff. Okay. Anything else under trustee comments?
The only thing I'll mention is that the 2 new fire trucks for Cardinal Joy Fire District will be arriving this evening, so they should be at fire station number 1.
Do they come in with the lights on?
No, and again, this is a replacement of the truck that was destroyed on the turnpike in that one accident, and then a new truck that was scheduled to be put into commission and will be transferred over to Station 3 once it's built.
Cool. Okay. Next meeting dates, we had a, I guess we need to reschedule our Public Works Department workshop meeting. And Carmen, I know you had to be on with the auditors today, so we delayed that meeting, and so we wanted to come up with a different date. So this would be the time to do that. It'll be at 8:30 in the morning, as requested by the Public Works Department, which is good. So.
You looking at the first week in May?
Yeah, probably sooner the better.
And I would suggest that we do it on a day Cindy is in the office.
Well, I'll be gone Wednesday, Thursday, Friday next week.
So Tuesday? The
I'm
3rd?
thinking, let's all put that on the calendar then.
May 3rd
I'm good.
May 3rd?
at 8:30?
you would have enough time to advertise that, Carmen?
Yes,
Yes, right now,
Okay.
yes.
So is that okay with everyone?
that'll work.
So 8th, Tuesday at 8:30.
Now, that's going to be advertised as reviewing policies and procedures.
No, this is going to be for the budget, is it not?
No.
This is our Public Works
Right, but
workshop.
I know, but I
Yeah,
thought
we're
we
going to be
were
reviewing a bunch of things with.
budget, but they wanted to do the budget is what they were
Well, how do you want me
interested
to
in
word
knowing.
this?
I thought the first thing we were going to do is to review the budget with the Public Works and then continue on with the policies and
Yeah.
procedures. So this one really will be about the budget, will it not?
Well, we're not having budget hearings like normal. That's a
No, no,
separate
no,
meeting.
it's going to be a workshop.
So workshop to discuss the budgets and purchase orders and things like that, yes.
That's really
And
important.
I think
Yeah.
that's going to take the whole time. I don't think we want to mix two different
Yeah,
workshops.
I would agree. I would agree.
So I
Okay.
think we do it as a budget.
You don't
please.
want to mix two, I have.
Policies and procedures are going to take, we're not going to have time to do both in this
Okay, so
meeting.
you want that off it?
Right.
Yeah,
We're going to schedule a different one for that one.
Okay.
so that's on May 3rd at 8:30 a.m. and it will be done by 10:30 a.m. regardless of where we
Right.
are. Actually, I think what you advertised before, Carmen, was perfect, so. And then so our next regular meetings are May 10th and May 24th. Is there any problems with anyone on those dates?
The 24th. I will not be here on the 24th.
Okay. Is there any reason we need to move or alter that meeting?
I am thinking that we're going to meet together for this on the 17th to
Yeah.
discuss the budget.
Okay,
And if we have anything that we need to pass resolutions for, that would be a good time for us to do it.
okay, all right, so we'll keep that meeting intact then. So next regular meetings are May 10th and May 24th at 7 p.m. And we do have a budget workshop on Tuesday, May 17th at 2 p.m., which was previously already advertised.
You still want to keep the 24th open?
That'll be our regular meeting on the 24th, yes.
But I think to Carmen's point, she's
I'm
saying
not
that
gonna be here.
on the 17th, she's not, or on the 24th, she's not going to be here, but if we're conducting business on the 17th, perhaps we won't need to have the meeting on the 24th. And I think we make that call after the 17th.
Okay.
How's that sound?
Well, that's fine. We could probably find something to go over, but that's fine. I'm with you on that one. Is there anything else to come before the board this evening? Okay. Well, with that, I need to move to go into executive session. So in accordance with ORC 121.22, I'll move to adjourn into executive session at 8:50 p.m. to discuss employment of a public employee, prepare for collective bargaining matters, and discuss compensation of a public employee.
How about 7:48?
I'm sorry, 7:48. So it's 7:48 p.m.
We need a second.
I'll second that.
Okay. Roll call?
Mr. Pulaski?
Yes.
Ms. Cartwright?
Yes.
Mr. Governor?
Yes. What did I say, 8:50? I'm sorry about that. Okay. All right. The board's not sure how long it will be in executive session, nor if we'll conduct any business when we come out. You're welcome to stay and wait, but we do not know how long we will be in executive session. Thank you.